Today, we are expanding numbers, converting them into Roman numerals, determining which strings have certain substrings. We are doing the wave, and then we are stripping comments. Hello world, and this is Versus Codewars. And I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving this past week. We begin today's comeback episode with the warm-up segment, a series of easier katas in order to prepare for the more difficult katas later on in the episode. Starting with abbreviating a two-word name. The goal of this kata is to convert a name into initials, and the initials should be capital letters. Let's go ahead and give this a try here. Our function signature is const abbrev, abbreviate the name. It takes our name as a parameter here. Now, it can be assumed that our name is going to be 2 words long. So, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and take the name and split it into its individual words using the space. And what we'll do from here is we're going to use a template literal. We're going to take the first word and the first letter therein. And then likewise, we'll take the second word and the first letter therein as well. And let's go ahead and punch this into Codewars and see what that looks like. Oh, right, we need to capitalize it too. Very easy way to do that is convert the name to uppercase. Let's try that again. And what's going on now? Oh, we gotta have the period in there. We're abbreviating the names here. Let's try that again. And we are good on that. Our next warm-up kata, we are converting numbers into a reversed array of its digits. Let's go ahead and try this one here. Const digitize. And it takes our number as an argument. And what we'll do here is we'll convert the number into a string. Map that out. Yeah, split that into its individual characters. Map them into integers. And then reverse them. Let's go ahead and punch this into Codewars and see what that looks like. And we are good on that. Our next warm-up kata, we are checking to see if the sum of the numbers in an array is odd or even. Let's go ahead and give this a try here. Const odd or even. It takes an array of numbers. What we'll go ahead and do is we're going to run this array through the reduce method. We have our accumulator and the value of our current element in the array. We're going to add that value to our accumulator. And what we'll go ahead and do from here, we'll take the sum of that and run that through modulo 2. That is, we'll take the sum divided by 2 and get its remainder. We'll check to see if it's equal to 0. And if it is, we're going to return even. Otherwise, we will return odd. And we're doing that using a ternary operation here. Let me explain what's going on here. We take the numbers in our array, we run it through the reduce method using this predicate function to add them together and get the sum. We then divide that sum by 2 and get its remainder using the modulo operator right here, this percent sign here. Alright, we check to see if the remainder is 0, and if it is, we return this step in the ternary operation here, which returns the string even. Otherwise, if it's not equal to 0, we instead return this string that says odd. Alright, let's go ahead and punch this into Codewars and see what that looks like. And we are good on that. Our next warm-up kata, we are taking an array of integers and removing the minimum value therein. Alright, let's go ahead and give this one a try here. Const remove smallest, and we have our numbers array here. And what we'll go ahead and do is numbers.filter. We pass in a number into our predicate function here, and what we'll do is, and we actually also need the second argument of filter's predicate function, which is the index of the element of the array we are working on. So what we'll do here is we return true if index is not equal to number, the return of number.index of, and for the argument in the index of method here, we'll do math.min, and we spread out the values of our numbers array into its arguments here. So let me explain what's going on here. Alright, we are running the numbers array through the array object's filter method. In its predicate function, we have two arguments here that we are working with, the number and the index of that number in the array. This predicate function returns true if the index passed in is not equal to the index, the first index of the minimum value of the numbers in the array. We do number.index of, and we pass in the return value of math.min using the spread operator to spread the elements of the numbers array into arguments of this method here. Whatever is returned from here is what we want to get the index of in here. Alright, by doing this, this should filter out the first instance of the smallest integer in the numbers array. Let's go ahead and punch this into Codewars and see what that looks like. And we have a problem. What's going on here? Type of number.index of is numbers. Yeah, let's try that again. I misspelled numbers here. Alright, and we are good on that. Finally, we are not giving anyone high fives. The goal of this kata is, given a range of numbers between x and y, we are to return the number of numbers in that range, I think inclusively, yes, inclusively, that do not include the digit 5. Alright, let's go ahead and get started with this one here. Const don't give me 5. We have our start point and our end point here as our arguments here. And what we'll go ahead and do is, it will probably be assumed that the start number will always be smaller than the end number. So what we'll go ahead and do is, for let I equals start, I is less than or equal to end plus I. We're going to iterate through, or we're going to go ahead and keep track of the result here. Yeah, we're going to iterate in a for loop from our start point to our end point inclusively here. What we're going to go ahead and do is, if i.toString.split includes the character 5 equals false, then result plus. And we're going to go ahead and return that result at the end. Alright, so what we are going ahead and doing here is, we're taking our current index, converting it into a string. We are splitting that string into its individual characters, and then we are checking to see if one of those individual characters is the number 5. And if it is not, we increment our result to indicate that this is another digit that does not include 5 in it. Then we return that result in the end. Let's go ahead and punch this into Codewars and see what that looks like. And we are good on that. That concludes today's warm-up segment. I will see you in the next kata. Given a number, the goal of this kata is to return that number as a string in expanded form. For example, the number 1024 would expand out to the string 1000 plus 20 plus 4. Let's go ahead and give this a try here. Alright, let's go ahead and keep track of an array of our terms here. And what we'll go ahead and do at the end here, we'll return terms.join space plus sign space. Alright, what we're going to go ahead and do here, we're going to go ahead and split that number into its convert that number into a string first, and then split it into its individual characters. What we're going to go ahead and do, I think we can actually go ahead and do this right in... No. Yeah, for each... run that into a character here. And what we'll go ahead and do is, if parse int char, convert that character into a number, is not equal to 0, then we'll do terms.push, excuse me. I think we might need the index as well. Alright, I have another idea here. Alright, we'll go ahead and convert the number into a string and split into its individual characters here. It's digits equals number dot to string dot split dot map char parse int char. Yeah, so we'll convert the number into a string, split it into its characters, and then convert those individual characters into integers, storing that in our digits array here. Then what? Alright, I have another idea here. What I think we'll go ahead and try doing here is reduce Alright, yeah, where I'm getting at here, I could try reducing this array here into an object here, where the keys are the non-zero values, and their values are the number of zeros that would go after it here. That might not be the best idea. First, let's go ahead and console.log these digits and see what they look like. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and do this. Console.log. Expanded form. Pass in 70304 here. Let's feed that into Node and see what that looks like here. Node expanded form. We have our 70304. Alright, I have an idea. Yeah, this would be the first. Alright, what we need to do, we need to figure out the number of zeros that will go after each of our terms here. I have an idea. What if we mapped these out into pairs here instead of a single array of numbers? And we will need the index and array here. Let me format this out here. AR down length -1 minus index. Yeah, that works. So what we're doing here, we're taking these digits. We're taking the number here, converting it into a string, splitting it into its individual characters, and running that resulting array through the map method. And in its predicate function, we're using all three of its parameters here. The element of the character being worked on in the array, the index of that element, and the array itself. And what we're doing here is returning a pair here, the first element therein being the character converted into an integer, and then the second one being how many zeros would be placed after that particular integer in our solution here. That would be the length of the array being worked on -1. Remember, we're working with base 0 here. And then minus further our index, what we're passing into the index argument of our predicate function here. As you can see, that results in an array of pairs. The first one being, of course, the digit, and then the number of zeros that will go after it. All right, what we can go ahead and do from here is from here we can probably filter out any of our digits here that is a 0. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll run that resulting array through the filter method. We'll pass in our pair in the predicate function, and we'll destructure the digit, the first element, out of that pair. And we'll filter out any pairs out of this array in which the first element is 0. Let's go ahead and console.log that and see what that looks like here. Console.log digits. And as you can see, we do not have any pairs in this array in which the first element is 0. All right, what we can go ahead and do from here is, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this up here. And what we'll do is we'll return digits.map we'll use a destructure to pull our digit and our 0 count out of each of our pairs. And what we'll do is we'll turn a template literal with first our digit and then 0.repeat 0 count. And then we'll take that resulting array and join that together with a space plus sign space. Let's run that through Node and see what that looks like. And we have 70,000 plus 300 plus 4, which equals out to 70,304. All right, let's go ahead and punch this into Codewars and see what that looks like here. Let's try submitting it here. And we are good. Not really much to say about this one. However, I could have saved a call to the map method by, after splitting the stringified number into its individual characters, using the map method to convert each of those characters into the expanded form terms, and then filtering out any of those terms that were equal to 0 using the filter method before eventually joining them together with the space plus sign space. Here are two arrays of strings. The first array contains substrings, and the second array contains source strings. Given these arrays, the goal of this kata is to sort out which strings, substrings, in the first array are substrings of the source strings in the second array. Let's go ahead and give this a try here. We need to return the resulting array in lexicographically sorted order here. Let's go ahead and try it here. what I think I'll go ahead and do is I'll go ahead and keep track of our resulting strings here. Lexicographically sorted order here. Let's go ahead and iterate through our source strings here. Okay, what I think we'll go ahead and do actually, we'll store these results in a new set. And we'll return that set in its own array. Or rather, source strings dot for each. Put a string in our predicate function here. And what we'll go ahead and do const has substring equals substrings dot sum I think it's str.includes. Yeah. And then if has substring, then results dot add. We add our string here. No. Okay, we need to reconsider that here. All right, we're doing this backwards here. Actually, it actually needs to be substrings dot for each, or rather, I have another idea. Const results. I'm gonna store that in a blank array. We'll return that. Well, actually, instead of a blank array, we'll do substrings dot filter. Pass in a substring into our predicate function here. And we'll return true if source strings dot sum. Pass in a source string to that predicate function here. And then we'll return true if source string dot includes our substring. Oops. So what we're going to go ahead and try doing here, we're going to take our substrings array, we're going to run that through the filter method. And in that predicate function, we have our substring here. We're going to filter out any substrings such that this call to the sum method returns false. What we're doing here in the sum method, we're taking the source strings array, running that through the sum method. We're passing in a source string into our predicate function here. And we return true here if the current source string includes our substring here. All right, let's go ahead and run an example down here. Console.log in array. We're going to take these two arrays of strings here from the example in our Kata instructions. And take this, copy and paste them into our local solution here. Let's run that through Node and see what that looks like here. Node which and we have our strings arp, live, and strong here to indicate that these three substrings are included in the array of source strings here as well. So let's go ahead and try something like this here. 3 substrings that we know do not exist in any of our source strings here. And we have a blank array. Alright, let's try this array out here. Let's be that in a node, and we have a lib strong. But what if alive was placed after strong in our source strings array? We still have lib strong. Alright, no, what if the word live was placed after strong in our substrings array here? We have strong live. Now, one of the other goals of this kata is that our array of substrings here has to be returned in lexicographical order. So, what I think we'll go ahead and try doing here is we can run this through the sort method and try sorting this in ascending order. Let's try that here. No, that's not it. We want descending order. That's not it either. Alright, one. Maybe just sort. Yep. Yeah, it's just use the sort method without a predicate function here, and that should do it. How will Codewars behave with this here? Let's go ahead and punch this into Codewars and see what that looks like. And that is going to be good. When you're working with arrays of strings in JavaScript and you need to sort them in lexicographical order, you can just use the sort method without a predicate function and will handle that sorting just fine. The wave, also known as the Mexican wave in the English-speaking world outside of North America, is an example of metachronal rhythm achieved in a packed stadium where successive groups of spectators briefly stand, yell, and raise their arms. Immediately upon stretching to full height, the spectator returns to the usual seated position. The result is a wave of standing spectators that travels through the crowd, even though the individual spectators never move away from their seats. For the sake of this kata, each lowercase letter in a string represents a spectator in a packed stadium. Given that string, the goal of this kata is to return an array of strings, each with a single successive letter in uppercase, representing that letter's respective spectator participating in the Mexican wave. For the sake of this kata solution, white spaces represent empty seats. Let's go ahead and give this a try here. Alright, what we'll go ahead and try doing here is... Alright, we'll go ahead and take... We'll take that string and split it into its individual characters here. So chars equals str.split. And what we'll go ahead and do is... I think we'll do turn chars.map character index in the array And what I think we'll go ahead and do is, if the character is a blank string, like a white space, then we'll just go ahead and return ar.join. Actually, we'll need to slice the array first. Sliced equals ar.slice. Yeah, the current character is like a white space. We'll go ahead and do return a sliced. Join that back here. Actually, let's do a turn a blank string here. And we'll filter out any blank strings from the resulting array here. Alright. Alright, what we'll go ahead and do from here is sliced at index equals sliced at index to uppercase. And then what we'll go ahead and do from here is turn sliced.join with a blank string. So what we are going ahead and doing here, we're taking our string that we pass in, we split it into its individual characters and store it in this array right here. We then take the resulting array, run that through the map method using all three arguments in its predicate function, the current character being worked on, the index of that character, and the array itself. We're taking that array and making a slice of it, making a copy of it, and storing it in this sliced variable right here. We then check to see if we can actually go ahead and, for the sake of optimization, do that first. We check to see if the character is a white space, and if it is, we just return a blank string. That will be important later on, so keep that in mind. We then make a copy of the array that we pass into the third argument of the predicate function here, and we use the slice method to make a copy of it right here. We then take that sliced array at the index that we pass in up here, and we convert it into uppercase, because we know that it's a letter. We then take the resulting sliced array and we join it back together with a blank string. And then we take that resulting array from the map method here and we run that through the filter method, and we filter out any string in that resulting array that is blank, because we have this right here if the current character was a white space. Let's go ahead and test this out here, shall we? Console.log wave. We'll pass in hello. Let's feed this into Node and see what that looks like. Node Mexican wave. And as you can see, we have different variations of our hello string in this array, in which each individual single successive letter is capitalized. Now, these letters represent spectators in a stadium doing the Mexican wave. Alright, let's try another. Let's try a different string here. Hello world. Oh, yes. Okay. I do believe we will need a regular expression here. Const letter regex. I think, no. We look for individual letters here in our regular expression here. And I think it's letter regex.exec on char. If this returns false, now let's try that.
have another idea. Maybe not. Okay, maybe this. Maybe Z. Let's go along that.
Oh, wait a minute. This returns null if it fails, not false. So let's try using the double exclamation point operator here to coerce a Boolean value. Yeah, let's get rid of this, and here we go. I think we've got it right here. Okay, so let's break down what's going on here. Here we have a regular expression for matching letters A through Z here. Alright, we take the string and split it into its individual characters with the split method right here. We take the resulting array of characters and run that through the map method right here. And we use all three arguments in its predicate function. The character being worked on, the index of that character, and the array being worked on here. We first check to see if the current character matches with our regular expression here. We take letter regex and we run the exec method on the current character. And if this character matches that if this regular expression turns up a match with this character, this method will return true. However, if it doesn't return false. Instead, it returns null. So we have this double exclamation point. I explained this before. It's a two uses of the negation operator, and this handy little trick can be used to coerce any value into a Boolean value here. So by using this, if exec returns null, we can coerce it to false. So if by doing that, this evaluates to false, we return a blank string. Keep that in mind for later. Next, we take the array and we make a copy of it by using the slice method with no parameters, and we store it here. We then take the current character in the sliced array at the current index passed in, and we convert it into uppercase. And then we return that sliced array, the sliced modifying array, and join it together with a blank string. Now, we take the resulting array from the map method and we run it through the filter method, and we filter out any blank string from that array. Remember what happened up here. Now, testing it out, we now get each variation of our string with one single individual successive capital letter, each one representing a spectator at the stadium participating in the Mexican wave. Alright, let's go ahead and run this through Codewars and see what that looks like. And we are good. I need to correct myself in this Kata solution here. The regular expression object's exec method actually returns an array of results that correspond to all of the matches the regular expression turned up in a string, or null if the regular expression could not turn up any matches in a string. If I wanted to return true or false if a regular expression turned up a match, I would have used instead the regular expression object's test method. Given a number, the goal of this kata is to return its representation in Roman numerals. Pay mind to the table you see here, which maps certain symbols to certain numbers. You have I for 1, V for 5, X for 10, L for 50, C for 100, D for 500, and M for 1,000 here. Now, you would represent a number, let's say you had the number 3, and you would represent it as the Roman numeral I. Or you had the number 30, and you would represent that as the Roman numeral XXX. So, but if you had like the number 4, you would represent that as the numeral IV, and so on and so forth. Let's go ahead and get started with this kata here. Let's try this here. First, we'll go ahead and keep track of the number we have remaining here. We'll set that equal to number. And we'll go ahead and keep track of a string here for our result. And that's what's going to be returned here. Alright, we're going to do a little while loop that repeats as long as remaining is greater than 0. And what we'll go ahead and do here, we're going to have a bunch of if statements here, checking to see whether remaining is greater than certain numbers, starting with 1,000. If remaining is greater than or equal to 1,000, what we'll go ahead and do is subtract 1,000 from our remaining and push the letter M onto our result. We're just going to go ahead and repeat this if statement several times here. Else if remaining is greater than or equal to, 900. Remaining is subtract 900 from our remaining. Result plus equals CM. Else if remaining is greater than or equal to 500, we do remaining minus equals 500, and we push D here into our Roman numeral result. Else if remaining is greater than or equal to 400, and we do this here, CD. I'm going to speed this up a little bit here while I do the rest of these if statements here. Give me one moment. Alright, let's go ahead and give this a try, shall we? Alright, console.log. Passing our the return of our solution here. Let's try 1,000 first. Speed this into Node and see what that looks like. And we do have the letter M. Let's try 1984. I should expect to see MCMLXXXIV. MCMLXXXIV. 1984 is one of my favorite albums by Van Halen. Let's try the current year, 2021. MMXXI, I think that is. Yep. 3999. MMMCMXCIX. Alright, let's try out some of these test cases here. 1990. MCMXC. 2008. MMVII. I think this is good. Let's try feeding this into Codewars and see what this looks like. And we are good. Today's Better Code solution of the day features a much more concise Kata solution that way cuts down on the number of if statements relative to our own Kata solution. Here you see an object with each of our Roman numeral threshold numbers mapped to the respective symbols. For example, M for 1000, D for 500, and so on. We do still have our while loop that iterates as long as our remaining number is greater than 0. However, instead of all the if statements like we saw in our Kata solution, we iterate through the keys of the Roman numeral symbols in our table here. We check to see if the remaining number is greater than or equal to that particular Roman numeral threshold, and if it is, we subtract that threshold from our remaining number, and we add the correct symbol to our result, just as we do here. Given a string, which can potentially be a multi-line string, and an array of characters or substrings, which can be used to start off a comment, henceforth after referred to as comment markers, the goal of this kata is to strip out the comments in each line. Let's go ahead and give this one a shot here. First, what I think we'll go ahead and do is try splitting off our input string with the new line character as a delimiter. Const lines equals input.split. Separate with the new line character here. Let's run this through console.log and give this and test this out, shall we? Maybe with this line here. Console.log solution. And for our second parameter here, we have our common markers, which is a %sign and an exclamation point. Alright, let's go ahead and run this through Node and see what that looks like here. Undefined. Well, we got a return. Let's do our return lines here for now. And we have each of our lines separated into substrings here. That's what we are. That's where we are getting at here. So what we'll go ahead and do. Alright, we need some way to find out where our comments are beginning, and we need to strip that and everything after it out in each individual line. So what I think we'll go ahead and try doing here is return lines.map. Pass in our line here. We'll take that resulting array and join that back together with our new line here. Alright, need to figure out probably the index of the string where our comment markers begin here. Alright, what I think I'll go ahead and do is let comment marker index set that equal to -1 for now. And what we'll do for const marker of markers and what we'll go ahead and do here is comment marker index equals line.find or line.index of our comment marker. And if comment marker index is not equal to -1, index of returns -1 if it cannot find that certain character in the string. Now, we don't know yet if we're going to be dealing with comment markers that have multiple characters in them. I think we may need to account for that, actually. And I think index of handles that, too. So, what we'll go ahead and do, if this does not return -1, we'll go ahead and break out of this loop here. Now, if after that, our comment marker index is still -1, we'll just go ahead and return the line. Otherwise, now I think the Kata instructions call for any white space at the end of the line to be stripped out. So what we'll go ahead and do is line.trim, I think trim. All right, what version of Node is this using? Node version 10? Yeah, just do line.trim for now. All right. Anyway, what we'll go ahead and do is we'll use the string object slice method to do this. Return line.slice. We'll slice from 0 to, I think the endpoint is exclusive, right? So the character is up to, but not including the character indicated by the end. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll slice from 0 to our comment marker index here. And then we'll trim that as well. Let's go ahead and feed that through Node and see what that looks like. You have apples and plums, pears and oranges. Let's just so we're sure we have that here. Let's encapsulate these for now in single quotes. Let's run that through Node and see what that looks like. And just to make sure we don't have any leading or trailing white space here, and I think we're good on that. Oops. Yeah, let's get rid of these template literals here. Alright, let's go ahead and run some other tests here. Let's try our own here. Hello world. This is a comment. My name is Dennis Griffin. This is my name. This is a test. And for our comment markers here, let's set that right now to an empty array here. Yep, and we have our string with our comments here. Let's go ahead and set up our comment markers here. First, the double slash. Then the double dash. That, by the way, is used to indicate a comment in the Lua language. And then we have our pound sign here, which is used to start off comments in languages like Python, Bash, Assembly, if I'm not mistaken. Configuration files. And it strips that one right out too. Alright, let's give this peculiar looking string a try here. Let's pass these arguments in here. Q, U, and E. Alright. Alright, let's see what happens here. Let's punch this into Codewars. First, let's explain what's going on here. We take our potentially multi-line input string and split it into its individual lines using the new line symbol as the separator here. We take the resulting array and run it through the map method. We pass in the line into the predicate function here. Inside our predicate function's body here, we keep track of the index of the comment marker. We initially set this to -1. We then iterate through the comment markers that we pass in up here. We run the current line through the index of method, passing in the current comment marker as an argument, which can be an individual character or a substring. If this particular marker cannot be found in the line, this method will return -1. Whatever's returned here will be stored in here. Now, this continues until we find a comment marker in the line, in which case this will no longer be -1, in which case we break out of this for loop right here. Now, if after this for loop the comment marker index is still -1, we just go ahead and return the line. But we need to keep in mind to trim out any white space from the end of the string. We do that with the trim method right here. Otherwise, we take the line, run it through the string object's slice method, starting from 0 and going to and not including the first character of our comment marker here. We take that resulting string and we trim the white space out. Now, we take the resulting array from this map method here, and we join them back together with the new line character using the join method here. Alright, let's see what this looks like. Let's punch this into Codewars and see how that reacts. Let's run tests. And we are good. Here is another better code solution of the day. Pay mind to the code snippet you see below me here. As we do in our Kata solution, we take the input string and we split it into its individual lines with the split method, and then we run that resulting array through the map method. Where we diverge here, however, is the body of the map method's predicate function here. We take the line as the argument in that predicate function, but here we take the markers array that we pass into this Kata solution here and run it through the reduce method. In that predicate function, we have our accumulator, which is the current line, and the value, which is the current comment marker. And our initial accumulator is the line that we pass into the map method's predicate function here. Now, each run of the reduce method's predicate function, we take the line, we split it using the comment marker as a delimiter, and then we return the first element of that resulting array. We take that element and we trim the white space out of that. Alright, we take the resulting string from the call to reduce. We take the resulting array from the map method call and we join that together with the new line to get the right answer here. And that will do it for today's episode of Versus Codewars. If you like this video or you learned something new, drop a like and subscribe to my channel to see me take on more coding challenges on Codewars. As always, if you think there's anything I can do to improve on my code for the better, feel free to drop a suggestion in the comments section below. I certainly hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family and loved ones. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next episode of Versus Codewars.